Arcane Season 2 has been out in full on Netflix for a couple of months now. I'm a bit late to the party on this one. 9 new episodes, around 40 minutes each. Once again, originally split into 3 chapters, 3 episodes each. This is the final season of the animated show based on the popular video game called League of Legends, which I was a fan of for a long time. Played it for, I think, close to a decade. The show is made by the wonderful studio Fortiche. Now, listen, if you haven't seen the first season, then even if you played the game, you have nothing to look for here, because you'll be lost completely. You have to see the first one to understand what's going on, especially as that one ended on a giant cliffhanger. And the second season picks up basically right after. The remains of Piltover Council are now more determined than ever to put a stop to Jinx and send Vi and Caitlyn after her. Meanwhile, Jace is busy trying to save Victor's life after the explosion by merging him fully with the mutating Hex Core, which of course has unforeseen consequences. Heimerdinger and Echo have their own sort of subplot, and so does Mel, who gets more and more drawn into the conflict between Ambessa and the mysterious Black Rose. And of course, Singed is still out there on the fringes with his own shady agenda. So first things first, I loved the first season of Arcane. I thought back then, and I still think so after a recent rewatch, that it is the best season of an animated show I've ever seen, and one of the best seasons of a television show overall. It looks jaw-droppingly gorgeous. You can really see why it was the most expensive animated show ever created. The style is very creative, blending 3D CGI animation with 2D hand-drawn and everything in between. The frames, the use of color, character movement, action, all of that complemented by music. It was just fabulous. But what impressed me even more than the technical aspects was the writing, because generally video game adaptations historically have not been written very well, and League of Legends has notoriously bad and nonsense lore. So I was very surprised to find out that the show's writing was incredible. It cleverly centered the plot around several well-constructed, layered and flawed characters, and made the progression be a set of natural consequences of all their decisions. You always knew what everyone's goal and motivation was at any point in time, why they did the things they did, and how that spun into the increasingly Shakespearean family drama, because that's what it was at the core. It was mostly family drama. The central plot of Vi, Jinx, Silco, and Vander was the heart of the show. Focusing on that was a brilliant decision. Unfortunately, the second season does not manage to hit the same heights, and becomes much more meandering, unfocused, and kind of difficult to follow at times. I will start with the animation though, because that aspect remains absolutely top tier. No notes here. The work that went into making the show beautiful is still visible in every single frame. It's creative, well thought out, unique and original, and just very impressive all around. The problem for me is the writing. In the first season, Vi and Jinx were always front and center, and even though the show was called Arcane and Jace and Victor's subplot hinted at the magical elements becoming more prominent, it was still kind of in the background. And the second season starts with about 3 episodes leading up to the inevitable conclusion between Vi and Jinx and Caitlyn, and that, I think, would have been a pretty natural point to make a bold ending to the show as a whole, but instead it continues. The story even between these characters is left in a very strange kind of limbo for a while, in a sense that you wonder, is there going to be something more, or is there going to be like a redemption plot or a further slide into villainy for Jinx, or are we just going to leave them off to the side? And in the meantime, you have much more abstract and weird stuff happening. The Noxus plot with Ambessa, the Black Rose subplot with Mel, Heimerdinger and Echo's alternate universe adventure in one of the episodes, Jace disappearing and then coming back suddenly completely changed, the Warwick thing with Singed, and of course Victor becoming, spoilers, Space Jesus. It's strange to say the least, and I specifically have problems with 3 of those storylines mostly. One, I think the whole Black Rose thing is mostly extraneous to the show, could have been completely with little impact, and it being here kind of makes Mel a worse character, because what was impressive about her in season 1 was that she didn't have any special superpowers or enhancements or even combat skills, but she was a shrewd and intelligent politician. Whereas now she does join the ranks of the game characters, and of course the whole politics angle is promptly forgotten as a result. And secondly, the plot of Ambessa with Noxus and the plot of Victor's commune, both of these converging by the end into one single giant plot. See, right up until the end, I had no clue what exactly did these characters want to even achieve. Like, for Ambessa, was it about controlling Piltover or destroying it? Did she want Hextech weapons, or Warwick and Shimmer, or Victor's hybrids as an army? Or did she want magic to combat the Black Rose? And with Victor, did he have ill intent and wanted to enslave everyone? Or was he still a good guy deep underneath with good intentions and just didn't realize the consequences that his actions would have? And what exactly was his and Ambessa's plan supposed to achieve once he took over the Hexgate anomaly? What was the end game there? It does become kind of clear at the very end, but not entirely, I think. And at the end of the day, there's definitely a feeling that the show is much more messy and all over the place than the first season. I'm not sure about the Jinx redemption idea. I really loved that the show seemed very committed and consistent in making her a flawed and tragic character, but a villain in the first one. I'm not sure Warwick's presence needed to be stretched so much. He essentially gets introduced and then tamed and then killed and then revived and then killed again, and it's just kind of leading nowhere in the end. I would also say there's a lot more focus on the action this time around. Pretty much every episode there's a big fight scene, which, yes, looks amazing, but I think doesn't always serve the story very well. And I like the first season being more subdued and focused on patient storytelling anyway. So I know I've been ranting for a while about this, and it maybe seems like I hated the show in its final season. I didn't. That's the weird thing. The truth is I'm a little bit biased, but I still think it's good. But it's just kind of a 7 out of 10, where the first one was a 10 out of 10 for me. And if you go from 10 to 7, you can't help but feel massively disappointed about what could have been had the show maintained its unbelievable quality. In any case, as I said, I still liked it. I still think there are things to enjoy here. It might be worth finishing, and the second season in any case has not diminished my enjoyment of the first one, which I would say can still even now be viewed as a standalone with an open ending. And my hope for the future, because apparently Riot Games wants to make other shows set in this world, is that they go back to what made the original season so great and try to tap into that once again.